So welcome to our audience tonight. Tonight we're going to present you and educate you on the opportunities to comment and also to get the tools necessary to do a map of your own as it refers to redistricting. Redistricting is a undertaking of the Board of Supervisors that happen every 10 years. And we're fortunate enough to get to David Twa, our former county administrator, to come back since he did such a wonderful job with the redistricting map 10 years ago. I've had an opportunity to sit in on that redistricting and participate in the plan that we did 10 years ago. And I was, my district changed 20 years ago when I was the recipient of what the board had put together. So it was a new district at that time also. So I'm very honored to have you all here tonight and hope that you will take advantage of some very knowledgeable presenters that will be providing you with information, and we'll be taking questions after that. So at this time, I want to introduce and bring forward our former county administrator and David Twa.
Thank you, Supervisor Glover, and welcome to all the audience who's out there. Essentially, we're going to cover a number of things tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about what redistricting is, just in case we have some new attendees who may not be familiar with the process that the county uses. And after I go through that, we will have a couple members of our Department of Conservation and Development Mapping Division who will walk you through a couple of things, one of which is a process in terms of how, as the supervisor indicated, you might draw your own maps, if you like, either for communities of interest or for actual supervisorial districts. And at a minimum, even if you don't want to do that, you'll be able to comment on maps that have been submitted by others. And then we will have a discussion based on some concept maps that we presented to the board public hearing on October 19th as the possibilities for the board to consider. I want to point out that these were just concept maps. No decisions have been made. And I'll talk a little bit about the process going forward as we deal with that. So obviously, as I think everybody knows, it is the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution that says one person, one vote. And every 10 years, we do redistricting to try and bring the districts into line with the law. The supervisors in Contra Costa County are the responsibility for drawing the supervisor maps. That's true of most counties in California. There are a few counties that have redistricting commissions, but again, most counties use the Board of Supervisors as the drafters. Essentially, one of the things that happens, of course, is we have to wait until we get the official U.S. Census data. In normal census years, it's April 1 of the year following the census that we have seen the data. However, this time around, a lot of because of the turmoil and everything that was going on, as well as COVID-19, we did not receive the official data until September 20th of this year. And we have to use, as I said, the census data, but we also are required to use what's called the California Official Redistricting Database. That basically is the population numbers, except in California. We take incarcerated population and those who are serving time at the state institutions, and those numbers are reallocated back to the particular jurisdiction and community from which they came before they ended up incarcerated. And so in Contra Costa County, that number was relatively small, a little over 2,000 individuals. But nevertheless, we had to wait until we received that information before we could start drawing maps. This is what the Contra Costa County current supervisory district map looks like. The maps you will see tonight and that will be presented a little later on will contain much of the same data. There's, like I said, there's a lot of stuff on here. If you look at the left-hand corner of this map, you'll see where it says total variance, 7.91%. The population in Contra Costa County grew by a little over 119,000 people over the last 10 years. So if you took the total population of the county now and divided it by the 5 supervisory districts, each district to have equal distribution would have 233,614 individuals. Obviously, that rarely happens. So the districts grow in different ways. And essentially, right now, if you look at this map, we have what's called a variance. In other words, we're allowed by law to have a variance of up to 10%, 5% above the mean, which is the average, or 5% below the mean. So in this particular case, as we look at how the county districts are distributed, District 2 is 4.35% above the mean, and District 1 is 3.56% below the mean. So you add those two totals together, and that's how you arrive at the 7.91%. You also notice on this map the charts to the right-hand side, and this is the demographic analysis by race and ethnicity by district. It's done by total population, and it's also done by the citizen voting age population. The reason that we use both of those is because the Voting Rights Act of 1965, as well as the California Fair Maps Act, requires that we look at those numbers to make sure that we are treating minorities correctly, that we are not discriminating based upon race or ethnicity. So you will see that information provided on each and every map that we do. One of the things that we've tried to do throughout this process, of course, is to have a robust public outreach. There's a number of ways you can access all of the data that we have. We have a dedicated redistricting website, and that's cocoredistricting.org. If you go to that site, basically there is a wealth of information, all the maps that have been produced to date by the public, as well as the concept maps that we'll be talking about a little later, are on that site, as well as comments by individuals, any emails, information, letters that we've received, all of that is available on that site. This dedicated redistricting site we'll talk a lot about tonight in terms of how you can use it if you choose to actually draft your own map of terms of communities of interest, or alternatively a draft of a county supervisory district. As the supervisor indicated, we've had a number of hearings, and here's our public hearing schedule. What we've tried to do, of course, is to make as many opportunities for people to participate in our process. So as you see, our first public hearing was held on August 10th. That was done before we had the census data, obviously, but we did it then because we had, at that point, actually put our redistricting website up in operation. And so we wanted to have people aware of that so that they could go to the site and actually start to use it. Then, as I indicated, of course, the release of the California State Adjusted Census data happened on September 20th, and our next public hearing after that was on October 5th. On October 19th, we held a public hearing in the evening, starting at 6:15 p.m., and it was at that hearing that we actually produced the first examples of county-drawn concept maps. As I indicated, Before that time, there were some public members who had drafted maps, and we continue to see drafts of potential maps coming from the public. So we're now into the 6th of the district workshops. We deliberately set those for the weekends and evenings, recognizing that there are times when people are not available to come to the county board meetings that are held on Tuesday mornings. So we held one on Saturday morning. We held another one on Sunday at noon. And then this week we've had evening meetings on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today. So we varied the times and dates specifically to encourage people to participate by providing as many opportunities as possible. Many of these provided in-person opportunities. Some of them, like the one tonight, is by Zoom or phone call-in. Here's kind of a detailed showing the schedule of those meetings. And as you can see, they were held at different places, different locations, different times, and hosted by the individual supervisors. So now that we have completed, as of tonight, the district workshops, then our next public meeting will be November 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then on November 23rd at 9 o'clock will be our 5th public hearing. All of this is required in order to meet the very serious and very specific timelines that are set up by the state for the county redistricting. We have to be done by our redistricting by December 15th. That's the statutory deadline to complete the redistricting. But in order to get to that date, there is a period of time in which proposed maps have to be publicized, and to make sure that the public has an opportunity to review them and to have input into it before any particular map is selected. This was the workshop schedule we talked about. As I mentioned, we have these strict timelines because we have to get to everything done in time to have the final approval no later than December 15th. Before we adopt a final map, we were required to have 4 public hearings. The schedule that you saw that we set out actually provides for 5 public hearings plus the 6 workshops that we've had. California also requires what's called ranked priorities under the Fair Maps Act. What this says is not only must we have all of these timelines that we must comply with, but also, as you will note, it says to the extent practicable, the supervisors' districts have to be geographically contiguous. All of the proposed maps that we have prepared, all of the proposed maps that we've seen so far prepared by the public meet that requirement. It is the second ranked priority that most people focus on, and for good reason. This is the geographic integrity of a local neighborhood or a community of interest has to be respected in a manner that it minimizes its division. So what do we mean when we talk about the communities of interest? Well, the statute tells us very specifically, this is exactly taken out of the statute. A community of interest is a population that shares common social and economic interests, so that it should be included within a single supervisory district in order to have effective and fair representation. Now, having said that, the law also says that a community of interest can be almost anything, but it has to be identifiable by a specific geographic area. So here are some examples of community of interest. Urban or rural interest, housing patterns, social interest, cultural, religious, or language characteristics. A common one is school districts or school attendance areas. City boundaries can be considered, as well as policy issues, concerns that people might have about crime or education, or about employment and economic patterns. If you go to our dedicated website, we have a much more comprehensive list of potential examples of communities of interest. So that if you're interested in doing just drafting a map that relates to the communities of interest, it gives you plenty of examples that you could use. In addition to the public hearings and the series of workshops that we've held, we also held 3 community online workshops. These were technical workshops intended for the public to learn how the online mapping application system worked, so that they would be able to submit suggestions for communities of interest or suggestions for the supervisorial district maps. So we held 3 of those. The first one was in September, and then there were 2 in October. One of the 2 that was in October was in Spanish. And again, the purpose of all this was to give as many opportunities for people to learn how to use the mapping system. All 3 of these workshops, as well as all of the workshops that we had in the evenings, as well as our public hearings, have been recorded and are available for review by you at our dedicated redistricting website. So now, having said that, we're going to show you some opportunities in terms of how you might draw your own map, or at least even if you didn't want to draw a map, at least you could go to look at the maps that currently exist and perhaps comment on them. You may say that you like a map, or maybe you don't like it, or maybe you want to use one of the current maps as a starting point to draft what you want. We are very fortunate in Contra Costa County to have a skilled staff capable of understanding redistricting and to be able to help us out in terms of preparing maps and also doing the training for people to actually use it. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Christine Solsing from the Department of Conservation and Development. She will walk you through the process on how to draft maps. After that, she will introduce Chris Howard, who will describe the proposed concept maps that were presented at the October 19th public hearing. Again, these are only concept maps. There has been no decisions made at this point. We're expecting a lot of public input into the mapping process and the developing of the supervisory districts. So Christine, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, David, and Supervisor Glover and all the attendees. I'm happy to be here to share with you our website, as well as in particular the mapping application. The website I just went to is cocoredistricting.org. It is our dedicated website. I'll just highlight some key features before moving into our mapping application. Along the top, you'll see a menu of items. Everything is in English, Spanish, and Chinese. And so you can provide, and a lot of these are different ways to provide input or attend meetings and see kind of what we've done. Always the next thing coming up is highlighted front and center. And we have some maps, and if you missed any workshops, you can, or want to share the workshops with anyone, those links are available. This one will be added soon. And of course, we have a calendar. And then at the bottom of every page, we have information about how to contact us, fax in English, Spanish, and Chinese, and some resources, including state redistricting links. If you would link on anything, submit comments using the online mapping tools. These will take you to our Contra Costa County Redistricting Public Portal site. This site is developed by District R, which is run out of Tufts University in their math lab. And their sole purpose is to make sure that people, members of the public, have their voices heard in the redistricting process, both at the local, state, and federal levels. They've provided a description of different types of testimony, whether it's written comments, a full districting plan or a partial districting plan, or a community of interest. They have some great resources on how to draw maps, and these are the links to the maps themselves, which we'll get to soon. In the form, this is the comment form. There's a couple items that I definitely want to make sure I highlight. Every comment needs to have a submission title and the comment itself, of course. You can tag a comment, and this isn't particularly important if you are working with maybe an organization. It's not important, but a useful tool. You can do something like League of Women Voters. And then if all League members use this, they could find maps that are proposed by members of your organization. You could also do something like community name, like Bay Point, or Hispanic, or something like that if you want to highlight particular aspects. In telling about yourself, there's a lot of fields here, but there are two that are very important: your first name or an identifier, as well as an email. And once you submit your map, you will get a authorization email sent to you from District R to make sure that this is a valid email address, and you do need to authorize your email before anything is published. So that is very critical. And then a couple disclaimers. You understand that your submission is publicly posted, but even though it's a public document, we will never share your email address or your phone number. And then if you're okay with us contacting you about your submission, if we happen to have any questions, it's helpful if you click that as well. And finally, we have our submission gallery. And so here are all the maps and comments and communities of interest. We have 2 pages of them, of different comments that people have provided. 5 of these are the 5 maps that Chris will go over, and I'll come back to these later on to show you how you can provide comments on that. But first, we'll start off with communities of interest. And if you click that, you end up on a map that looks very much like a Google map. And so the first thing you might want to do is go to your community. So in this case, you can use, zoom in and out or pan, but you can also use the search feature. So I'm going to go to Bay Point. I'm choosing Bay Point because this is where my first internship project was when I started the county 20-some years ago. It was this project right here. So I can say, let's say I need to, so this allows you to move around. The paintbrush does exactly what you would assume it would do. It allows you to paint a community. You can change the brush size if you want it really big, or if you want it to be smaller and a little bit more precise. It can be something like this. And do this whole area here. And then you would just name your community and describe why this is important. I'm going to call it an important community. You can be more specific. And then you can also add places. One of the things that I remember when during the community process for this project was everyone wanted an ice cream shop. And there is an ice cream store right here now, and it's really good. This is Community Gallery. I can take a look at this, and maybe I realized I took too much, and so I can use the eraser, much like the paintbrush, just erase a portion of it. I can look at data layers that might help me draw my communities of interest. You can put these on at whatever time, at the beginning or in the middle or at the end, to check. This is a census designated place. You can see I went all the way up to the city of Pittsburgh line, cities, limits, or current districts. So if you go out, you can see this is Supervisor Glover's district right here. You can also look the total population, where the population density might be, or the number of people who live in a given area, or a particular population density, for either the whole population or the voting age population. And then there's also an evaluation tab that allows you to see how your community of interest compares to the county as a whole. And so in this case, there's a higher Latino population, which is not surprising. Let's say I'm really happy with this particular community of interest. I can go to save. Once I hit save, there are 2 options. This first option is right here. I can simply copy to the clipboard. So this is assigned a number. I can copy to the clipboard, and I will be able, if I paste it in an email or in a Word document or somewhere where I can come back to it. And once I put that back into the URL, I can continue working on my map. I know that life gets busy sometimes, so this can be really helpful. It can also be helpful if you want to share an idea with a friend or a colleague before you submit it to the county. And so That's the copy to clipboard feature. The second feature is proceed to submit map, and that's down here. And this will have you go straight to our Contra Costa County public comment portal. It'll automatically populate the district URL, and you can provide the submission title and some information about your community of interest, your name, and then submit. And once you authorize your email, it will show up in the submission gallery. Next, we'll take a look at mapping supervisorial districts. If you click, this is what you see, and these are all census blocks. Districts are made up of census geography and census blocks in particular. And so it looks a lot like the other map, except if you hit the paintbrush, there's 5 different colors now. So I can just start with one color. And these do go in order. So blue is 1 and yellow is 2. And I can keep painting. And if you look right here under population balance, there's a line that runs down the middle. And if you go over that line, you've gone over the equal population mark. So this is a little bit large. So I can take this and I can make it a little bit smaller. And now I'm pretty close to that middle part. One of the tools that I think are really helpful when you are painting is there is this lock already drawn districts. And if I click that and then select the next color to go on to 2, it won't paint the area that I've already painted as 1. It also never goes beyond the county boundary, so that's really helpful. You don't need to worry about where the county boundary is. We're just going to keep painting, and we're a little bit over. When you just keep doing that over and over for all the districts, maybe looking more than just general areas like I'm currently doing. We'll just cover all of these. I'm not actually trying to get Supervisor Glover out of East. There we go. The next feature, I just wanted to get a bunch of colors here so I could show you this next feature, which is highlight unassigned units. And this will show you any area that you might have missed, even areas that look like you thought that you have covered. So I can take that yellow and go over it. And you can see that now that's no longer there. The data layers are very similar. The CDPs, the census designated places are for unincorporated communities. Municipalities are our cities and the current supervisorial districts. And again, you can evaluate population by race per district, as well as the voting age population by race. And you can select those as well. If you save, again, the same thing. This saves it so that you can come back and work on it later. Clearly, I'm not done yet, or I can proceed to submit map. Since this isn't a very good plan, I'm not going to submit any of these, but I am going to show you what I think are one of the more exciting features of the district are, which is you can take a map. In this case, I'm going to open up the County Draft Concept 1. And once you're here, you can proceed to submit a comment. So if you proceed to submit a comment right here, it will take you back to the submission portal, and it will associate this number that's associated with the map, and this comment will be associated with the Concept 1 map. Maybe even more exciting is you can open it up in District R, and it will load the map, but it will allow you to make changes that won't save over the map that's already been submitted, but will allow you to use this map as a starting point. So maybe this is a map that I think is a pretty decent map, but I want to change some things in District 2. I'm going to have this come over here like that. And then I can save it, and it will make it a brand new map to submit. You can hear my cat in the background, maybe. Anyways, and all of this you can start off with at Contra Costa at coco.redistricting.org. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chris, and he can share the map, those 5 map options with you.
Thanks, Christine. Today I'm gonna share my screen here. All right. here we go. Good evening, everybody. What you're looking at here is the current supervisorial districts from 2011 that we drew last time. I think David showed this slide already. One note I will make on this is if you have been studying our charts throughout our process, you might notice that some of the numbers have changed this week. What happened was the state, who we have to, as David mentioned, we had to wait for the statewide data center to put out their adjusted version of the census data, and they put out a revised version. And so this is reflecting the revised version. And the big changes are our total population went up by 5 people. And then most of these percentages are pretty much exactly the same, but maybe a number went up by a couple digits or so. But it's pretty much the same. None of the percentages changed down here. The variance of the original District 2 was the high one at 4.35%, and District 1 was the low at negative 3.56%. And if you add those two numbers together, the highest of the high and the lowest of the low, that's where we get this number, the total variance. And for the existing supervisorial districts as they stand today is 7.91% variance. But let's jump right into the map concepts we've come up with at the October 19th public hearing. This first concept map, and in fact all of them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over here in West County, and I'm going to work around kind of by district number, in order of district number, and work my way around the county in a counterclockwise fashion and kind of explain what's changed in this proposed map from the current districts. So in the current district, the city of Pinole is split between District 1 and District 2. And if you look real close, you can see a light yellow line here. And those yellow lines throughout this map are the current districts. And so in this map proposal, all of Pinole is going to go into District 1. And the district line will be all along the city limit here between Pinole and Hercules, with Hercules staying in District 5. And as you circle around the county here, here's the unincorporated community of Release Valley. This is several neighborhoods here together that have a lot of different communities of interest that they belong to. They're part of 3 different cities' sphere of influences, and they're also part of 3 different school districts. And those splits are not in the same place. We've decided to go with school districts to split Release Valley. So the green portion here is in Martinez School District, so that'll stay in District 5 with Martinez. The purple section here is in the Lafayette School District, so that will go into District 2 with Lafayette, and the red portions here are in the Mount Diablo Unified School District, so they'll join Pleasant Hill and Walnut Creek in District 4. As we keep going south here, Walnut Creek, the incorporated city of Walnut Creek, in this map concept, the entire incorporated portion is inside District 4. Walnut Creek has lots of unincorporated communities kind of within it and adjacent to it that are in its sphere of influence. And in this case, Acalanes Ridge CDP, Castle Hill, and in a portion of Saranac will go into District 4. A different portion of Saranac that happens to be in Lafayette's SOI will stay in District 2, splitting the community of Saranac. As you continue around, you'll get to the San Ramon Valley. The unincorporated communities of Diablo, Blackhawk, Camino Tasajara, and the Tasajara Valley are in District 3 currently. If you look at this yellow line, they are definitely a community of interest with Danville and San Ramon, and as such, this map proposal puts them back into District 2 with the rest of San Ramon Valley. As you get up here in the rural area around Mount Diablo State Park, one thing that happened with the census data is that part of our redistricting process, we have to use the census blocks that they send. And the yellow lines that we used last time, they weren't in the census this time. So we can't use the same lines we used last time. And so sometimes you'll notice in rural areas, we're using slightly different lines. And that's usually the reason. It's just that those lines weren't available for us to use this go around. But there's not a whole lot of people right here in the Mount Diablo State Park. So this doesn't have a big effect on folks. As you continue around, oh, sorry, everybody. As you continue around District 3 here and get to Antioch, you'll notice that Antioch was split in the 2011 supervisorial districts. It was split down Highway 4, Cavallo Road, and East 18th Street. One thing that happened a couple years ago is this little guy here was annexed into the city of Pittsburgh. It was previously unincorporated. So we've suggested that that go with Pittsburgh into District 5. But as for the remainder of Antioch, this map proposal has it being split right down the railroad, the Union Pacific Railroad there, just kind of in between Highway 4 and 18th Street. As you circle around and get to Concord, you'll notice the yellow line here. This follows the city limits of Concord. So the current districts, Concord is completely within District 4. This map proposal has Concord being split. And in this case, we're following Willow Pass Road through the Concord Naval Weapons Station, which kind of spans most of East Concord and North Concord from Clyde almost all the way down to Clayton. It follows Willow Pass Road, then Concord Ave, and then a little bit of Interstate 680 here until it hits the city limit at Pacheco. So this is quite a bit of North Concord into District 5 in this map. What you'll notice is that District 4 ends up with the high variance in this map proposal, 4.90%, and District 3 is the low end with negative 2.55%. Add those together and you get 7.5% is the variance of this concept map proposal. Continuing, here is our second concept map that we presented at the October 19th meeting. I'll start again in Pinole, and you'll see that all of Pinole goes into District 1. I think you'll notice that's a theme tonight. We'll do that in all the map proposals. As we circle around to Release Valley, again, we're going to split this community by school district, with District 5 getting the Martinez School District, District 2 getting the Lafayette Elementary School District, and then Mount Diablo Unified District in District 4. Now, in Walnut Creek, this map proposal does something different than the last map. It follows the city limits until it gets to Highway 24 at Interstate 680, and it splits Walnut Creek at the freeway, and it puts the communities, the unincorporated communities of Saranac and Castle Hill into District 2, but Acalanes Ridge will go into District 4. As you circle around, again, the San Ramon Valley and Tasajara Valley are made whole in District 2. This map proposal does something different here on the eastern side of Mount Diablo. This neighborhood, it's a kind of a rural area. We're calling Morgan Territory. There's Morgan Territory Road goes up here, and Marsh Creek Road. They meet in here, and this whole area is in the Mount Diablo Unified School District as well, and has been considered kind of a community of interest with Clayton. So this area in this map proposal has been brought into District 4. As you continue around East County District 3 and get to Antioch, you'll notice the split here is a little bit different. This one follows several streets and railroads to kind of give a little bit different split here to Antioch. Also, Tuscany Meadows, again, will go into District 5 as it's now part of incorporated Pittsburgh. As we get to Concord, the split in Concord is going to follow Willow Pass Road, and then you'll notice a little notch here. There's actually a neighborhood on the north side of Willow Pass Road, and everything behind that neighborhood is part of the Naval Weapons Station right here. So this neighborhood will be kept whole with their neighbors across Willow Pass Road inside District 4. Then the district will continue down Willow Pass Road until it gets to East Street, Grant Street, and Solano Way, which make kind of a thoroughfare that comes and cuts through North Concord here until it hits Highway 4 here at Marsh Drive, and that is the end of the split. This map proposal has a high variance of 4.82% and a low variance of negative 2.84% in District 5 for a total of 7.66%. Moving on to map concept 3, again, Pinole will go into District 1. Release Valley will be split by the school district. Walnut Creek will be split by Highway 24 Interstate 680. The San Ramon Valley will go into District 2. The Morgan Territory Road area inside Mount Diablo Unified School District will go to District 4. In Antioch, there'll be the change for Tuscany Meadows, and then really a slight change here at what used to be the Carvalho Road. We'll follow a few different roads, Alpha Way and A Street up here to get to East 18th Street. And then in Concord, the split will again follow Willow Pass Road, going around this little neighborhood here on Willow Pass Road. Then it will go up Olivera Road until you get to Highway 242. Then it will travel down Highway 242 and back up here, which is an old railroad right-of-way that's really easy to see if you look at an aerial photo. It's full of public storage, and it's just a clean white line that goes up on if you're looking at the aerial photo on Google Maps, for example. This map concept has a high variance of 4.82% in District 2 and a low of -4% in District 3 for a total variation of 8.82%. All right, map concept 4. Again, we're going to see Pinole go to District 1, Release Valley go by school district, Walnut Creek split by Highway 24, Interstate 680, the San Ramon Valley and the Tasajara Valley go into District 2. In this map concept, Morgan Territory Road area stays in District 3, and the Mount Diablo area is just adjusted based on census blocks. In Antioch, there's quite a big difference here. The split will follow Cavallo Road like before, but just take it all the way up north to Fulton Shipyard Road and split the city this way, again with Tuscany Meadows going to District 5. And in Concord, the split will follow Highway 4, then Port Chicago Highway till it hits Bonifacio Street and kind of cuts through the north end of downtown and then back up the railroad right-of-way till you get to Highway 4. Map Concept 4 has a high variance of 4.81% in District 2 and a low of -4.11% in District 5 for a total variance of 8.92%. Finally, our last concept map from the October 19th meeting, map 5, all of Pinole will go into District 1. Release Valley will be split by school district. Walnut Creek is split by Highway 24, Interstate 680. The San Ramon Valley and Tasajara Valley will go into District 2. Mount Diablo area will be adjusted based on census geography with Morgan Territory Road staying in District 3. And then in Antioch, this is the biggest split, the most of Antioch going into District 5. It follows Summersville Road until it hits the railroad, and then it follows the railroad down to Highway 160. So there's a little bit more of Antioch in District 5 in this map, and a little bit less of Concord in District 5 in this map. It follows Highway 4, Highway 242, and then the railroad right-of-way. This map concept has a variance of 4.81% in District 2 and a negative variance of -4.87% in District 5 for a total percentage of 9.68%. And that completes our review of the map proposals as presented at the October 19th meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris and Christine. So I will turn it back to Supervisor Glover now.
Supervisor Glover, you are muted.
Boy, that was some good stuff I was spitting out there. Anyway, we want to thank you all for the presentation. These have been great presentations and I think very thorough. One of the things that you will see within the presentation that we take in the number of presentation that has taken place, this is a very transparent process. And so we want to make sure that all of our citizens have an opportunity to look, to share their views. And, you know, working with the mapping process is something that I think is very important for those that may have different opinions in terms of what you're seeing tonight. So I urge you to go into the system and to work with the maps, or, you know, you still have an opportunity to pick up that phone and contact your particular supervisors in terms of what you would desire in terms of a mapping process, or what is in your community or not in your community that you would like to see a change with. So I just think that this opens the door, and I really want to appreciate the David Twa and the Department of Conservation and Development for putting this all together, and then our technical folks who've been involved in this process from the beginning. So we're ready for questions, I think, David, at this point.
Yes, Supervisor, we'll turn it over for the call-ins then.
Okay.
All right, if you are dialed into the phone line and would like to make a comment, please press #2. Or if you are joined in via Zoom and would like to make a comment, please click on the raise hand icon located at the bottom of your screen. You will receive a notification to rejoin as a panelist, in which you should accept. And as a reminder, you do have 3 minutes to state your comment with a 20-second beep warning. Once again, if you would like to make a comment via Zoom, please click on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen.
Si desean hacer un comentario, si hay alguien en línea que desea hacer un comentario por teléfono, por favor oprime el numeral 2. O si está en Zoom, por favor oprima el icono que dice mano y está en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Tienen 3 minutos para hablar. A las personas que hablan en español van a ser 4 minutos. Y nuevamente, por favor, los que están en Zoom, opriman la imagen de la mano en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Y el numeral 2, los que están en teléfono. Gracias.
So at this time, we do not have any phone callers nor Zoom participants.
Okay. So what I'd like to do at this point is to give any of our presenters an opportunity to have closing remarks, or David, if you would like to have some closing remarks, and maybe update on when the next presentations will be given.
Well, thank you, Supervisor. Just to remind everybody that our next public hearing will be on November 9th. It will be at 9 o'clock in the morning. It'll be held in the county boardroom, but it will be by Zoom or phone call. And we certainly would like people to participate. I think, as the supervisor has emphasized, go to our site because it has a wealth of information, and you can, again, play with it in the sense of drafting a map if you want to. But if nothing else, you could subscribe to our email system so that as we get more information or as we produce more data, we can push that out to you for your information to make sure that you are fully informed and to keep up to date on our process. After November 9th, we will have the 5th public hearing. That will be on November 23rd, again at 9 o'clock in the morning here in the county boardroom. And it is that date that we are estimating that the board will actually look to adopt a final map. So none of the maps that we have seen tonight necessarily are ones that are going to be adopted. And essentially, we're looking for more input from the public as well as from the supervisors. So it's a fully transparent process, and we would hope people will participate. Thank you.
So thank you so much for all who have participated. And again, I want to thank this great team for all your outstanding work in making this happen. At this time, we will now end our broadcast, and you do have an opportunity also to go back, because this is recorded, and to look at this particular presentation. Thank you all. Have a good evening.